breaking news came out of Bob Arum stating that Crawford versus Porter fight is already in play for November, as he believes Crawford versus Porter will bring in strong pay-per-view numbers. Contrary to that, Bob Arum also added that Terence Crawford is not a pay-per-view attraction, which contradict his previous statement. Bob stated, quote, "The way we plan to approach it is the first thing we're going to do is talk with the Porter's team at PBC and see what they want to do. Do they want to do this jointly? We are doing a fight jointly October 9th, Wilder vs. Fury trilogy. We will have to see where they stand on it. And then they will talk to Porter, we will talk to Crawford, and try to put it together. October 23rd is not in play, and we wouldn't want to do it in October because it would be a pay-per-view. And we already have an October pay-per-view, Fury vs. Wilder trilogy. So it would be November," Bob explained. Bob also added confidently, "It's not going to go to purse bid. This fight with Crawford and Porter is a terrific fight. Whoever does it gets a good fight, but saying it's a really good fight doesn't necessarily indicate how well it will do on pay-per-view, because Terence has excelled in the ring, but he hasn't excelled as a pay-per-view attraction. With this fight, we got a shot to do well." End of the quote. Now, the million-dollar question: if Crawford is not a pay-per-view attraction, neither is Sean Porter, that's for sure. Then, if that's the case, why does Bob Arum believes this is a terrific fight and it has a great shot to do well on pay-per-view? Them two things do not add up. The reality of the matter, Bob Arum have been giving Terence Crawford the Rigondeaux treatment. Also, because Terence is on the coincidental list, Bob is going to go out of his way to shit on him since his contract is nearly up, the exact same way he did to Floyd Mayweather. However, Bob Arum had nothing but great things to say about Manny Pacquiao when he did the same. So we all know what time it is. More importantly, Terence Crawford is pay-per-view attraction if you put him in there with the right opponents, with an opponent that has a name and a momentum for the fight to be worth to be on pay-per-view. That's how you conduct business as a promoter. Therefore, when it came to Terence Crawford previous pay-per-views that didn't do so well, a combined pay-per-view sale of 210 to 220,000 for both Postal and Amir Khan fights, Bob Arum has nobody else to blame but himself for putting those fights on pay-per-view when they were not pay-per-view worthy. Even according to Bob Arum himself, he came out and said that Postal versus Crawford is not pay-per-view worthy since Postal had no name in the States, but he was forced to put it on pay-per-view because HBO wouldn't give him the budget to pay the fighters. Few months later, HBO went out of the boxing business after investing all of their stocks in Gennady Golovkin and Roman Gonzalez. With the facts being stated, whose fault was that? That wasn't Terence Crawford's fault. That was clearly a Bob Arum mistake. Because even if you put Errol Spence in the ring with Postal, that fight will also flop on pay-per-view. If Errol Spence fight Postal today or yesterday or when Terence Crawford fought him, how many pay-per-views will Errol Spence sell? Exactly. That fight wouldn't even crack 100,000 on pay-per-view. Why? It's not because Errol Spence is not a pay-per-view attraction. Nope. But because Postal is not a pay-per-view worthy fight, the exact same way Amir Khan fight at the time wasn't pay-per-view worthy for Terence Crawford either. I mean, if roles were reversed and Terence Crawford had the chance to fight the undefeated Mikey Garcia, and then Sean Porter, then Danny Garcia, Terence Crawford would have had a similar success that Errol Spence had on pay-per-view. Why? Because those are actually pay-per-view worthy fights. That's what makes it unbelievable when Bob Arum disses Terence Crawford instead of promoting him, which is the label of his job. He gets paid to promote instead of de-promote Terence Crawford. I mean, just think about it for a second. as much as Tyson Fury have flopped on regular ESPN, Tyson Fury was paid over $10 million to fight Wildin and around the same amount to fight Tom Schwartz. Do you guys know Tyson Fury had the ultimate promotion from documentary after documentary done on him on ESPN, all to sell 3,000 tickets? Yep. Rewind that again. 3,000 tickets after getting paid $10 million plus. Tyson Fury also did poor numbers on ESPN. But did Bob Arum come out and diss Tyson Fury for the 3,000 tickets he sold? Nope. Instead, he has nothing but high praise. On the other hand, Terence Crawford gets paid only $4 million while producing record-breaking numbers of viewership on ESPN. ESPN even told Bob Arum to extend his contract since they were happy with the record-breaking numbers he was producing. Against Benavidez, Terence Crawford did 2.7 million viewership on ESPN, the highest ratings for years on ESPN. Keep in mind, Terence Crawford kept producing record-breaking numbers, over 2 million every single time, with little to no promotion for his fights. On top of that, he was selling out 14,000, 15,000 tickets, unlike Tyson Fury, who flopped selling 3,000 tickets while getting paid $10 million. With the facts being laid out, can someone explain why Bob Arum continued to diss Terence Crawford, who's producing the highest ratings while getting paid less money? On the other hand, he praises the fighter that does poor ratings and get paid the most in Tyson Fury. Can someone explain that? Therefore, come October, when Crawford's contract is up with Top Rank, Bud better run as fast as he can from Bob Arum. Furthermore, as far as the fight itself between Crawford and Porter, Bob Arum now is talking with some sense. The fact that the WBO ordered the fight is forcing Bob Arum's hand to be fair to Sean Porter in the negotiations table. Because if Bob tries to lowball Sean Porter, then Sean Porter could take this fight to purse bid in the open market, where the fighter's value is even higher than the promoters value them to be, because it goes from monopoly of one network to competition of all the networks betting on the fight, making it a bid war, which is great for the fighters. That's why I said from day one, if Sean Porter really wanted the fight and Bob Arum was trying to lowball him, then petition, activate your mandatory in order to take this fight to purse bid, to force Bob Arum to negotiate with some sense, to force Bob to behave and be fair, which is exactly what's happening now. Bob Arum done changed his tone since the WBO ordered the fight. And last but not least, I don't see this fight being a joint promotion. It's not big enough. This is not Wilder versus Fury. This is not Arum versus Crawford. This is not Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Usually you only do joint promotion for mega fights. Nevertheless, this is a good fight on pay-per-view, because I see this fight doing around 250 to 300,000 on pay-per-view, similar to Errol Spence versus Porter numbers on pay-per-view. Which, if that's the case, then we all know Terence is a pay-per-view attraction, just like Errol Spence. All he's missing is the marquee fights that Bob Arum haven't been able to deliver. With that being stated, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, subscribe below, and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, TV. Peace, and I'm on to the next one.